Welcome, Catherine. How are you this morning?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, I'm excited. I've had you at the studio a couple of times, and actually got to experience one of your group sessions. It was For me, it was just amazing. I was able to tap into some things that I would never thought that I would actually be able to do. And I think that this is an opportunity for other people to experience hypnosis without going, solo to, kind of just get like a little bit of a snippet of what it's like to have a personal session with you. Um, I actually was talking to one of the students last night, and she said that she had come to you for a personal session,
Awesome.
and she had a great experience, and she's able to now, um, in different scenarios, like different meditation scenarios, can actually tap back into that session that she had with you. So she's recalled to that soul session with you, and I think that's an amazing thing and quality that she has now.
Well, and that's what's so beautiful about having this experience is that whenever you tap into that, it opens a doorway into that part of your consciousness that has access to that whole story. So having a session, even in a group scenario, whereas you might be, having a 30-minute experience versus a 2-hour experience, for
Hmm.
example, you're still able to kind of go back into that. So once you open the door, it's like you always have the key to that. And anytime
Hmm.
you want to go back to it, you can go back to it.
Yeah,
It's
that's so
like
neat.
that's your personal like doorway.
Yeah, that's so neat.
I
So,
know.
so tell me a little bit about how you got started. I mean, I went to your website and kind of visited a little bit. I'm interested in, like, if you had a like a hallelujah moment, or you're just like, oh my gosh, I gotta have this thing in my life. Like, what was the thing that brought you to this kind of work?
Well, it's kind of a long story, so I'll try to make it really short. So, I was one of those kids whose family was like really like, okay, you have to make really good grades and you have to graduate, and you have to go to college, and you have to do all this stuff, and you have to just like be the best. And so, growing up, I was a perfectionist, if you
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had done all this stuff and like put myself through school and got a job and had kind of reached the top of my field at a very young age in my 20s,
Mm.
which was kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And once I kind of reached that stage, I was like, okay, now what? Like, I'm bored with this now. What do I want
Mm-hmm.
to do next? Because it wasn't a challenge for me anymore. And having
Yeah.
been like such a, driving, like I was always having to like do so much to be like the best at whatever. Once I was the best at it, it was time to move on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I started kind of asking myself, like, holy moly, if this is the best it's going to be for me, like, gosh, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Like, that's a long time now,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so I thought, well, why am I even here? So that was my first question. That was,
Mm.
started asking myself, what's my purpose in being here if this is the best I'm going to be or the best it's going to get? And so that kind of took me down a completely different road and humbled me back into a place of going, wow, maybe I should really look at myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was in 2005. Flash forward to several years. This is what I love about the universe. After that, I started seeing like videos that would pop up on my Facebook feed, and it would be like a Dolores Cannon, or I would go to YouTube and I would see like past life regression, hypnosis, and I'm like, okay, all right, already, I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I went out and I had my first session after I had read her book, The Three Ways of Volunteers. And I think I probably cried through about half of it,
Oh.
which is very interesting because some of these people's stories really spoke to me personally
Mm.
in terms of their experience. And it was basically an awakening for me in terms of like remembering who I was and
Mm-hmm.
why I was really here. So, long story short, I had my first session in 2010. And for me,
Yeah.
um, to really kind of go back to my source and like remember that I was more than just a human body you know, just
Mm-hmm.
living in the grind. And I think that was probably about 7 or 8 sessions ago for me personally. So
Mm.
um, it's been an evolving growth for me to have my own sessions. And then a few years ago, after my daughter graduated and moved off and started her own life, I thought, what can I do to give back?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
I know. I was like, what? I have to do something to kind of give back to the community because I've learned so much about who I am and I want to share that.
Mm.
So I kind of prayed on it, if you want to call it that, and was like kind of asking my soul, you know, give me something that I can really facilitate other people to find their own path. You know, I didn't really want to be the typical healer where people come to me and I heal them because I wasn't very confident in my abilities to. So I wanted something, but that I could allow people to take their own journey. And that's really what this modality allows for. So lo and behold, I took the course with Dolores Cannon and became a level 1 practitioner. And I think in probably about 4 months, I was back taking my level 2 course. And gosh, that seems like a lifetime ago, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you did it, and I'm glad that this, you know, collective consciousness or universe, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of called your or recalled your soul to its work that, you know, you need to do. And I think a lot of people can benefit from these experiences. Can you explain, like, I know people are probably wondering, like, what a typical like group session looks like.
Yeah, so group sessions are super fun. I love doing them because I get to kind of get feedback from multiple people, you know, if they're willing, which is always fun. But, you know, some people don't really want to share their experience, and that's totally okay. But a group experience is similar to like a guided meditation. So if you've ever participated in a guided meditation, maybe in a yoga class or, you know, even in a group meditation type scenario or online, even with, you know, someone on YouTube guiding you through a meditation, that's similar to what you're going to experience in a group scenario versus a private one-to-one where it's interactive. Okay, so that's the main difference.
Okay.
The steps are the same. So I'm kind of guiding you through to allow your consciousness to take you into whatever place is most appropriate for you to see and to learn and remember about yourself. But it's pretty much, so when I first started doing group sessions, I was very specific into past life and, you know, taking you through a past life because we're infinite souls. So we've existed forever and we will exist forever until the great architect of all things decides that, you know, okay, I'm bored, time to start over. So we've existed numerous times, numerous places, past, present, future. You know, this is kind of like Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole, you know, conversation. But so originally it was very specific to past lives. And I've noticed in the last probably 6 months or maybe since January that a lot of people are kind of like, okay, I'm like moving forward. I'm experiencing or not necessarily needing to experience past lives anymore to learn what I need to learn about myself. And so some of my group experiences now are taking people into different places. So not necessarily a past life, but maybe a parallel existence to see what would have happened if they would have made certain decisions.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what if I had stayed in that relationship or not taken an opportunity with that relationship? Or what if I would have had children instead of deciding not to? And, you know,
wow.
like, so experiencing things like that. But then they're also having an opportunity to experience future timelines, which are, by the way, just probabilities. So, or rather possibilities, because all things are allowed, right?
Right, right.
This is a no limitation universe that we exist in. So some people are going to their Akashic records where they can pull up life on other planets and other dimensions. So not necessarily past life experiences.
Oh.
Some people still go back to experiences in their current life that they need to resolve in order to be able to move forward. So everybody's experience will be different and unique, specific to them and specific to their journey in this walk, because this is the life that we're focused on. So this is the lifetime that, you know, is our consciousness will actually guide us to give us the right information to help us in this life, in this walk.
Oh. It's actually, and it's amazing to me, just because I'm able to tap into those spaces. The information, the amount of information that I can receive, and I don't know if that's just because I'm very open to any experience. So I guess that my intention is to receive whatever, you know, and I feel like this can also help people learn to maybe get in more touch with their intuition. And as far as like this instance we're talking about where someone's not receiving the information they want to receive, can maybe have a return session. So you're actually doing this a couple of times at the studio. So like maybe you try it once and something doesn't happen, then you can just come back and try it again. You know, maybe you know what the experience is like. You go and you feel what everything's like. You deal with the atmosphere and the people, and just to give it another try, not to give up on it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, for clients that I get for private sessions, I think in 2 years I've maybe had 2 people that's never had an experience at all. In a private session. It tends to happen more in groups because, you know, it's not an interactive experience. So I don't know. You have to remember that I can't see what you're seeing. When your eyes are closed, you see what you see, and that's it, right? And I have no idea. In a private one-on-one, it's me asking you questions. So if you're telling me, okay, there's a building in front of me, I'm asking you, what does the building look like? Describe it for me. What's on the outside? How many windows does it have? You know, I'm getting you to draw me a picture so that I can imagine what it is that you're seeing. But when it's me guiding you and I'm saying, okay, so we're going to go through this doorway and on the other side is going to be something waiting for you. I have no idea what that's going to be. So, and that's why I say your soul is going to show you what you need to see. So for some people, it might be a house. For other people, it might be a spaceship. For another person, it might be their childhood, you know. So it's a very vast array of possibilities in a group session because each person is individual. Now, I will say that when groups come together, the energy that's created from that experience is so much more amplified and intense and spread out that the ability to have a really great experience is, I think, multiplied. Simply because of people like yourself who are super visual and can just kind of get there really quick and have that experience. If you're open to, you know, having a group session, just think of it as being like a fun event, first of all. And I think if you have the expectation that it's going to be fun, then you have a tendency to be more relaxed. But if you're worried about it or stressed out, then that's when your conscious mind tries to control everything and will shut it down. But for people who don't necessarily have as visual of an experience, just remember that we actually perceive our environments through other ways than just sight. We smell things, we hear things, we feel things, we just know things. So this opportunity, even if you don't have like a massive awakening visual experience, like it's watching a movie or something, it will help to open certain centers of your inner awareness. We're not closed off to these. We just don't know how to get back in there, right? Whenever it off after childhood and we enter into being a young adult, we have a tendency to forget, like, okay, how do I get back there again? And it's as simple as using your imagination.
Mm-hmm. In a group session, kind of going back to what you just said, when you're talking about the amplified energy of a group, do you feel like people can, or do you experience a lot where people are experiencing their own journey, but also picking up on those that are around them in the room?
You know, that's an interesting question because I get that question probably every other time I do a group session. But just remember that we're all one. Mm. We're one consciousness having different experiences. So even if we are picking up on other people's experiences, the reason that we're doing that is because there's something in there that we can apply to our own situation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Everything that comes into our reality, whatever that looks like, because we are each unique, right? But whatever comes into our reality is something that we're meant to learn from. We've been multiple things. We've been everything in the universe. I mean, we've been everything. I've actually had clients who've been animals, plants, rocks. That's really interesting, by the way, because, man, how do you get information from a rock? Nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
That's true. Those are really, like, for me as a practitioner, it's like those are the challenges, you know, is to bring out why are they seeing this? Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of interesting because when I start asking the questions, why is this relevant? How does this relate to your present life? The answer is always like some like Buddha or, you know, like answer that you would not really think of. Mm-hmm. And then the soul comes through and says, oh, well, they need to get up and start moving. They're being complacent, right? So this is what's going to happen to you if you just stay in the same or afraid to move. So, you know, they'll tell them something really simple in order to give them a profound message. But when you experience things from that perspective, right, it's completely different than just saying, you know, I should really probably do this or that, but I think I'm going to hold off. Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. So there's always like and this is why I tell people, our souls are very simple in the messages that we get, right? We just need to figure out the best way to tune in and listen to these messages. Mm-hmm. And this is just a really good opportunity to have that experience.
I know we kind of jumped into what the session's going to be like, what the group session's going to be like, and all about your work, but I want to just kind of take it back a little bit and talk a little bit about just on a personal side, some things about you, some questions. So, what hobbies or interests do you have outside of this work?
Okay, so I guess probably the biggest one is I am a volunteer for Friends of Texas Wildlife. Shout out. So we actually take in abandoned, orphaned, injured wildlife, native Texas wildlife, and we rehabilitate it and release them back into the wild. That's our goal. We are a 100% volunteer organization. We don't receive any state or federal funding, so everything that we get is donation based. So that's actually my biggest passion. And as a matter of fact, I just released 3 of the sweetest little baby opossums yesterday that I've had for this big. Aww. And so that's probably my biggest passion. And I volunteer there weekly. So a lot of the times when people contact me for sessions, just know I'm not available on Thursday because that's my volunteer day. But that's a really big passion for me. A really good way for me to stay connected to the natural world. Mm-hmm. And I learn a lot from just observing how animals act in their natural way. That, you know, I mean, like my dog is over here on this chair sitting here with me, keeping me company, listening to me, and he's amazing and I love him to pieces. And I have 2 cats and they're totally different. Mm-hmm. And so you get used to domestic animals. Mm-hmm. So being around wildlife is an interesting perspective. And I think in today's culture, we stay so disconnected from our natural world that doing something that gets me out and being with them and being able to witness and observe and just watch,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps me centered and present in
Yeah.
in life. So that's my biggest hobby. And then, gosh, I spend so much time doing that. It's hard to find other stuff to do. But
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say with the animal thing, I would think that would really grow your compassion too, because like you said, with the domestic animals, we're really, they're just there, and they're like parts of our lives, or like our kids. But coming into some place where they're wild and they're coming from a place when they don't know what human contact is like, they might be a little bit scared, and then you're actually helping them get better, you know.
exactly.
So that's an awesome thing to do. What about your spiritual practices, or how do you keep, I know that's an awesome way, working with animals is an awesome way to keep you grounded, but is
Yes.
there some daily things that you do, maybe you might share
I
with us?
think a lot of the times people kind of get stuck into a belief, into a thought process, into a way of being, and they don't seek to evolve or expand or unfold more of themselves because they find a place of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, my spiritual life is kind of like what my whole life was before I figured out that there was more to life as a human being, where I was this perfectionist. I now strive to learn more, to learn more. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I tell people I'm a perpetual student of consciousness. So I seek always to figure out more about what we would call reality is, what I am, what the people around me are, and why they're in my life, and why I choose certain experiences to have. So, to a daily meditation practice. And I thought at first, okay, I'm going to try this every day for 1 week for at least 10 minutes straight and just see what happens. And that was my initial goal. I set myself really small goals, right? Achievable goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually turned into a year-long process that turned into a 2-year-long process that eventually turned into a process to where I don't really have to close my eyes anymore to tap into other frequencies and experiences other than
Wow.
physicality.
Yeah, I notice a
So
lot of people.
daily practice is that, when I wake up in the morning, I send out a prayer of gratitude for the
Mm,
opportunity to have whatever is in store for me for the day. And then I kiss my dog and hug him and tell the universe, thank you for this sweet little creature that keeps guard over me.
yeah.
And then I kind of get up and I do this thing where the first thing is I have to take care of all of the animals and critters that are here. And then that kind of like grounds me back onto the plane, because I do have a very expansive and vivid dream world, but so it kind of grounds me into the earth reality first thing in the morning. And then I sit and I have about 2 hours of just silent reflection time in the mornings.
Mm,
All of my private sessions that I have, I start at 10:30 in the morning, specifically so I can have that time just for me.
mm.
And for people who also have similar practices, I want them to be able to come and be in a state of relaxation when they get here.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my thing. And I am an avid reader. I read every spiritual book I can put my hands on because I want to know everything about everything about everything. Some of it resonates with me and some of it doesn't. And for the stuff that doesn't, usually those books don't really get read very quickly.
Yeah.
I kind of have to, ask myself, okay, why am I mad about reading this sentence? What is that triggering in me? So I have an active process where I'm constantly wondering why I'm responding the way I do to my external environment.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like, well, first off, it's awesome that you actually give yourself that reflective time. I know a lot of us don't have that capability. I feel like a lot of people come to yoga just for that, just like to have 15 minutes of I just want to lay here and do nothing.
Right.
But you know, it's probably so beneficial to you to have that, and it kind of sets the mood for when you're doing your sessions and allows you to be more open and calm, and I believe people would really feel that comfort that you're providing for them when they come to see you. Um,
Yeah. Because if I'm not relaxed, how are they going to be relaxed?
exactly, exactly. I'm kind of like you, where I want to keep learning and learning and learning and learning, um,
Yes.
seeking all these different aspects of, you know, it's so vast, and I feel like a lot of people have um, don't know where to start, you know, and
And you know, that's the thing is like this can be a really good just door opening or a window opening or even just a peephole through the door. You know, I
mm-hmm,
mean, that's what's so amazing about this process is that it's fluid.
mm-hmm,
It's not a rigid, you know, experience unless that's what you need in your personal experience.
mm-hmm,
And honestly, just having the opportunity to just relax and be still,
mm-hmm,
even just in a group experience, even if that's just for 30 minutes and you do fall asleep, then that's what you needed,
mm-hmm,
you know, because a lot of us don't get the opportunity to do that. I am extremely blessed and fortunate that I have a husband who, you know, goes off and does the daily grind and works really hard to allow me to have the opportunity to center myself in the mornings, you know. And I didn't always have that. I used to be, you know, up and at it at, you know, 5:30 every morning, and you know, now I sleep until 7 and, you know, let my body kind of come to consciousness naturally. And I recognize the blessing in that, but I also recognize that that's what my soul needed and that's what was created for me,
mm-hmm,
consciously or unconsciously, because I also believe that we do create our own experiences based on what we want to come here to learn about who we are.
mm-hmm,
And so when I wake up and I remember that I've created this space, this opportunity, and this life, no matter if it's difficult, easy, you know, it doesn't matter. I've created it and I've created it for the purpose specifically to learn from it. And when I can have that perspective, then it makes it easier for me to move forward through that. You know, I didn't have an easy upbringing, and now as I've changed my belief in that okay, I created that. Why did I create that? Why did, you know, what do I need to learn from that? And this isn't like an overnight process, right? This is years and years and years. And I think that now people are experiencing a much faster um, unfolding of all of these processes than what it was even 10 years ago.
mm-hmm,
You know, 10 years ago, it would have taken me 3 months to work through an issue. Now it's like 3 days, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get the gist. I mean, the energy is such that people can work through their issues much more effectively and much quicker if they're really in tune with it.
mm-hmm,
And that's what I really love about the hypnosis aspect, is that it allows us to do it at such a fast pace. And for a private session, it's so important that you listen to the recording, because when you listen to the recording with your conscious mind, you test it on such a different level, right,
mm-hmm,
than what you do when you're having the experience. So, and that's really what's quantum about it, because it happens on every level of our consciousness, not just the dream consciousness or
mm-hmm,
the conscious or the unconscious or the super conscious or whatever you want to call it,
mm-hmm,
but on my everyday, like I'm thinking about it, I'm analyzing it with my logical side of my brain. When I'm listening to that recording, I'm dissecting it. I'm participating in that experience on multiple levels when you listen to the feedback that you have from your session. And so that's what really is propelling people's growth to having this experience. And it's unfortunate that I can't like little tap something to your brain that you could have for a group session, or you could have like a whole movie projection you could watch later. But that's kind of like futuristic.
That's coming, yeah, that's coming in the future.
Projecting that out there, that's going to be a possibility eventually.
As you were talking about the recording, I was like, I'm wondering if somebody takes that home and listens to it, and they're like, what the heck was I saying? What is this crazy stuff coming from?
So I can answer that from personal experience. When I go back and listen to the recordings of my own sessions, it's almost like I'm listening to someone else.
Yeah.
It's really weird, right? The first time you listen to it, you are very hyper aware that that's you, and you're like, oh my God, is that what I really sound like? Is that what, like, and I recently did one where I was on video, and so then I was like, is that what I look like when I'm, my profile? Like, you're like analyzing it in a way that's like really weird. So I personally don't do video recording because you tend to focus on the wrong things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I need to cut my hair, or, I should have worn makeup that day, or whatever. But when you're listening to it, you're listening to your voice. And it's interesting from my perspective because I can tell the difference in my own voice changing when I access something other than my conscious voice. When I actually get into that state of being where I'm accessing my superconscious, my voice changes, and it becomes like the wisdom teacher, right?
Oh, wow.
And so when I hear that, I'm like paying attention like you would to a parent who's like trying to teach you something really important, and you're like, okay, I need to record this, or I need to write it down, or I need to remember this, So it's a very interesting experience to go back and listen to your recording. And I actually have sessions from years back that I will go back and listen to whenever something triggers a memory that I had from that experience. And every time I listen to that recording, even if I've heard it 15 times, I pick up something different because my consciousness is now different. So when you have a session, your spirit, your soul is going to give you information that is timeless. That's what is so amazing about it, is that it's timeless. It is something that you can use then, but it's also going to be something you can use 5 years from now. And it's going to have an equal amount of impact on your experience. So that's amazing.
Wow, I was going to ask you if there's anything else that you wanted to tell people, but that was kind of summed everything up.
For all of my friends, and for all of Hope's friends, and all the friends of our friends that are watching this worldwide, I do hope that you will have found this really beneficial. And if you don't want to have a private session with me, because I also do sessions, a specific type of session for people online as well as in person. But if you want to find someone local, at least, hopefully this information will help. And if you want to find someone local to your area, you can go to quantumhealing.com and look for a practitioner based on your location. But hopefully you'll call me and or reach out to me, and I can assist. But I'm actually psyched about coming to do the group event. Group events are always really fun for me as well.